Good morning, everyone. Welcome you all to the second day of this online lecture series, round two. And today, as the resource person, we have someone you all might be familiar with. She's the president of English Club of IHE Bhopal, and she's also an author. Her first book, Shakti, was published, I think, 1 or 2 years back, and now she's working on a second book. So, Hardika, I welcome you. You can start your lecture.
Thank you so much, Arjun, for this very warm introduction. Hello, everyone, and good morning. Today, we are going to talk about Indian literature. Now, it's a very vast area to cover. So, I've sent you a document on the group. I'll be mainly focusing on fiction and poetry because these are the topics they ask from most of the times. And I'll send you in this week. At the end of this week, there's another list coming up of some new writings. I'll also send you that. Okay. So let's start with earliest work in English. Can you tell me? Okay. I'll ask questions in between because I don't want to just blabber. Which is the first work in English in India?
Travels of Deen Muhammad.
Perfect, Ishita. It's Travels of Deen Muhammad, published in 1793. It's by Saqi Deen Muhammad, and it's the first book written by an Indian in English. Now, who was Saqi Deen Muhammad? He was a traveler, he was a surgeon, he was an entrepreneur. And what did he write in this book? He talks about conquerors like Genghis Khan, Taimur, first Mughal emperor Babur. And he also described several important cities in India, as well as various military conflicts. Okay, now tell me, which is the earliest novel in English? And who wrote it?
Rajmohan's wife.
Yes, Rajmohan's wife. It came in serialized form in 1864 and in a novel form in 1935. This is by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. It's Bankim Chandra Chatterjee's debut novel. After that, he never wrote any work in English again. He said, oh, English is conqueror's language. I'll not write it. So he wrote in Bengali thereafter. So his other novels are Durgesh Nandini, Anand Mat. You must be familiar with Vande Mataram. That's there in Anand Mat. Okay, so that's there. And in that, Rajmohan's wife, who is the titular Rajmohan's wife? If you know.
Matangini.
Yes, Mantangini. Mantangini is the wife of Rajmohan. She is the protagonist. She's 18-year-old. And which is the, though we are not covering the play, but nevertheless, which is the earliest verse play in English?
Parsi Baronet. The first verse of.
Yeah, the first Parsi Baronet, which was written by C.S. Nazir, Kuvarji Sorabji Nazir. Okay, let me talk about pre-independence poets now. So first we have Henry Derozio. He was the first Indian poet in English. He was born in Calcutta, and he was born as same year as Tennyson and Darwin, you know. And he has written poems like Fakir of Jahangira, Song of Hindustani Minstrel, To India, My Native Land. Basically, in all of these poems, he's talking about the subjugation of India, and he's expressing hope, the brighter future ahead. Okay, there is a certain kind of melancholy. There's a term for it. Are you aware of that in his poetry?
Byronic.
Yeah, there's a Byronic melancholy is a keynote in his poetry. Okay, he was quite fond of sonnet form, so most of his poems are in sonnet form. And in one of his sonnets, he even called death his best friend. Wow. Harp of India, just elaborating about few poems. So Harp of India is a patriotic poem by Derozio, which pays tribute to the rich tradition of the art of Indian poetry. Okay, and he's saying that, oh my God, how this tradition has declined now because of the British domination. So that's there in Harp of India. Okay. Fakir of Jahangira is again very interesting. It presents a Brahmin widow, Nalini. Okay, and she has a lover, but she has to perform sati. Remember, at that time she has to the sati system was still going on, so she had to perform sati. But then there comes a lover, which is called Fakir. That's the Taituria Fakir of Jahangira. Okay, and when she's just about to be consumed by the flames on the funeral pyre of her dead husband, the fakir comes and takes her away. Okay, but Nalini's father, he's very furious. Oh my God, the pratha is not followed. So what does he do? He kills Fakir. Now Nalini dies happily at the pyre of Fakir. So this is the story. Next poet we have is Michael Madhusudan Dutt. Okay, he was a pioneer of Bengali drama and he has made translations from Bengali also. His works are Meghnad Bodh Kavya, which is a tragic blank verse epic. Tilotama, very famous. Remember Tilotama? They've asked about it, I guess. Another blank verse epic. The Captive Lady, that is there. Then you have Romesh Chandra Dutt. He wrote 4 historical novels: Slave Girl of Agra, The Lake of Palms. These are the 2 famous ones which you should remember. I'm not going to do details because they don't ask details from these writers. Manmohan Ghosh is another famous writer, and he is, as you know, brother of Sri Aurobindo. And his poems were published in a book called Primavera. Okay, Primavera. And Oscar Wilde praised him. Oscar Wilde, as you know, the author of Picture of Dorian Gray. Okay, and he has also published love songs and elegies. That's there. Now comes the famous writer. Okay, I'll ask the question. Who has written A Sheaf Gleaned in French Fields?
Toru Dutt.
Toru Dutt. Okay, so this is by the Toru Dutt. She mainly lived in Europe, died quite young, but wrote extensively. And in this collection, A Sheaf Gleaned in French Fields, that's 1876 collection, which contains her original poems as well as the translations from French poets. It has total 165 poems, out of which 70 are translated. Okay, and then she has written one novel which is unfinished. Can you name the novel?
Bianca.
Yes, perfect, Ishita. Bianca, or the Young Spanish Maiden. It was published posthumously after her death. She has also written ancient ballads and legends of Hindustan. You must have all studied this poem, Our Casuarina Tree, where the speaker, she's living abroad, she's pining for her native land, she's missing her native land. Okay, she is in foreign land, she hears the, lament of the Casuarina tree in the courtyard of her house back in India. Okay, so the famous line is, mayest thou be numbered when my days are done with deathless trees like those in Borodale. Lakshman is another one of her poems. It's a conversation between Sita and Lakshman after Ram goes to capture the golden deer for Sita. Remember that? They've asked about Lakshman. The Lotus. Lotus is her Petrarchan sonnet, which argues that the lotus is national flower of India, is better than lily. Lily is national flower of France, and rose is the national flower of England. So lotus is the queen of flowers. Why? Because it is as stately as lily and as delicious as rose. So that's there in Lotus. Okay, next up we have Rabindranath Tagore. Anybody knows what Rabindranath Tagore has written? I'm sure.
Gitanjali. National anthem.
Yeah, Gitanjali or song offerings. How many are there in English and how many are there in Bengali?
103 in English
103.
Yes.
and 154 something in Beng. No?
Yeah. First he wrote in Bengali, 157. Okay, first he wrote in Bengali. Then he said, okay, I'll translate it in English. But after translating 103, he got tired, I think. So we just got 103 poems in English. Okay, 157 in Bengali, 103 in English. Okay, tell me who wrote famous introduction to it. Everybody knows this.
Yeats.
Yes,
Yeats. Not T.S. Eliot. W.B. Yeats.
Sorry.
No worries. It's okay. It's good to be in confusion. That's how we learn. Yeats said, I have carried the manuscripts of these translations about with me for days, reading in railway trains or on the top of omnibuses and in restaurants. And I have often had to close it lest some stranger would see how much it moved me. He has written these beautiful lines. Okay, what is there in Gitanjali? Basically, it's a relationship between a human being and the divine. Okay, and Tagore drew upon Vaishnava tradition for his imagery. Okay, it has the poems have this tone of conventional love poetry, as if he's talking to his lover, but actually he's talking to God. Okay, there are other novels which he has written: The Wreck, Gora, Home and the World. These are his novels. He has written poems also, very prolific writer: The Garden, The Crescent Moon, Fruit Gathering. He has written plays like Chitra, The Post Office, The Cycle of Spring, Sacrifice. Tell me, which is his famous autobiography?
My reminiscence.
My Reminiscence, Jiban Smriti. Okay, my not so favorite writer has come up. That is Sri Aurobindo. I'm never able to comprehend his works. I don't know what he writes. Okay, tell me what Aurobindo has written.
Savitri.
Savitri, which is his first work. They asked chronology this time of Aurobindo, and I was like scratching my head. I don't know.
The Life Divine.
Yeah, The Life Divine. That's the first work. It is a treatise on metaphysics. It is also a work of prose art. It deals with the theory of internal yoga. And there are other things also. And this Aurobindo was praised by Aldous Huxley, the author of Brave New World. Okay, Savitri is a epic he wrote, epic poem rather, based on Mahabharata in 3 parts. Okay, so there are 12 books because it's an epic, and it's written in blank verse. What is the subtitle of Savitri?
Symbol something.
A
A
legend.
legend and a symbol.
Yes, Arjun. A legend and a symbol. Okay, it talks about again Sati Savitri myth, and he also talks about origin of man because it's Aurobindo. So he'll talk about these things: birth of universe, birth of gods, all from the religious angle, from philosophical point of view, and yogic point of view. Don't forget that. Future poetry. Uh, okay, he said that in future poetry, he said in the future poetry will be more and more like mantra. How mantra is short, okay, but very effective. Okay, so these extravagances would be eliminated and it'd be short and effective. Okay, and the poetry of future will rekindle the 5 lamps of a being, which are 5 suns, which is the truth, beauty, delight, life, and spirit. Don't have to go into details, but just, and he also talked about overhead poetry. He has written the plays. Okay, so he has written 5 plays based on 5 different locations in the world. So first place, Perseus the Deliverer. It's about ancient Greek myth of Perseus. You must be aware of that. Vasavadutta. That's a romantic tale of ancient India. Then you have Rodaguna. That's a Syrian romance. Then you have Viziers of Basora. That's the romantic comedy in the days of Harun al-Rashid. And then you have Eric, which is a romance on Scandinavia. Okay, so that's there. Perseus the Deliverer, Vasavadutta, Rodaguna, the Viziers of Basora, and Eric. The 5 plays. Okay, who has written the story of my experiments with truth?
Gandhi ji.
Okay, tell me. In Gujarati, the book was serialized in which periodical?
Harijan?
No.
Nav or something. Nav Yuva Nav.
Nab Jeevan. Nab Jeevan. Okay, and in English, it was serialized in where? Bolo bolo.
Young India, something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, yes. Who translated it? You've read this work?
Manmohan Desai.
No.
Manohar Desai.
Like, Mahadev.
M, something with M.
Okay, it was published in the book form in 1925. And it was inspired by John Ruskin's Unto This Last. And he has written Hind Swaraj, which is again written in Gujarati. And he has edited various newspapers, Satyagraha, Young India, Harijan. And then he has written songs from prison. Okay, he made number of translations of Indian lyrics into English during his stay in British jail in India. Okay, tell me which of the famous Indian epic he translated?
Mahabharat.
Mahabharat. Perfect. Okay, who has written Glimpses of World History?
Nehru.
Nehru. You know how he wrote it? Such an intelligent man. He went to jail. Okay, now he had nothing to do there. So he wrote a book, Glimpses of World History, talking about history of mankind from 6000 BC, including the rise and fall of civilization. He talking about great heroes. Imagine writing this book without any reference, just writing. You have to remember so much for that. Okay, so this was a non-Eurocentric attempt at historiography. That could be an amazing area for research. Okay, he has written an autobiography. Its original title was In and Out of Prison. Okay, it was dedicated to Kamala, who is no more, and it's also called Toward Freedom. So these are the details, minor details you should know. And then you must be aware of this work, The Discovery of India. This was again written in prison when he was jailed for his participation in Quit India movement. Okay, then he has written Letter from a Father to His Daughter. Whom is he dedicating these letters to?
Indira Gandhi.
Indira Gandhi, perfect. Okay, there's S. Radhakrishnan. He has written Kalki, or The Future of Civilization. Okay, he's talking about how there's increasing mechanization and industrialization of the modern world. He's not liking that. Okay, he has also translated Bhagavad Gita. He has translated Dharampada, the Principal Upanishads, and Brahma Sutras. Prolific man again. Indian philosophy is his major work, which is written in 2 volumes. Okay, and he has written other such works, The Hindu View of Life, An Idealist View of Life. जहाँ भी view of life हो वो राधा कृष्ण ने लिखा है. Which Britisher translated Bhagavad Gita first into English?
Charles Wilkins.
Charles Wilkins, perfect. Okay, now we have the author who likes British rule. Can you guess?
Neeraj C. Chaudhary. Niraj C. Chaudhary.
Okay, in his youth, he read Shakespeare and he read Sanskrit classics and he admired Western culture. Okay, he admired his own, but he admired Western culture more. Okay, he was opposed to the withdrawal of British rule. He said, we want British rule, it's good. Such a strange man. Okay, and he has written a lot of controversial things about that. Okay, tell me the name of his autobiography.
And Diana, something like that.
No, that was a sequel. The first part.
Unseen something?
No, the autobiography.
The autobiography of an unknown Indian.
Indian, 1951. Okay. This, he talks about his birth in Bangladesh, how he grew up in Calcutta, his mental and intellectual development. Okay. And novel, this thing has, controversial dedication. Okay. He says, to the memory of the British Empire in India, which conferred subjecthood upon us, but withheld citizenship, to which yet every one of us threw out the challenge. He says, Civis Britannicus sum. You know what does it mean? Citizen of Britannia I am, because all that was good and living within us was made, shaped, and quickened by the same British rule. He said this. That's controversial. Okay, he has written a novel which is similar to E.M. Foster's A Passage to India.
A Passage to England.
Passage to England. Perfect. Okay. He has also written The Continent of Circe. That title refers to Homer's dash
Odyssey.
Odyssey. Okay. And now tell me the sequel to the autobiography of an unknown Indian, which you were telling earlier, Lina.
Thy hand.
Yeah, Thy Hand, Great Anak. Perfect. Where this title is taken from? Which work of Alexander Pope?
Dunciad.
Dunciad, yes. The line in Dunciad is Thy hand, great Anak, lets the curtain fall, and universal darkness buries all. Okay. Who is called the Nightingale of India?
Sarojini Naidu.
Yes, perfect, Riya. Very good. Sarojini Naidu. Which is the first anthology?
Golden Threshold.
Threshold.
Perfect, Alina Nishita. The Golden Threshold. It was praised by Arthur Simons. He said, very good, Sarojini Naidu. She has written other collections: The Bird of Time, The Broken Wing, The Sceptered Flute, The Feather of Dawn, The Indian Weavers, so many. Okay. Then her famous poems are Bird Sanctuary, where she says that nature is akin to God here. It's ideal refuge for birds of all types. Okay, The Queen's Rival, that's based on a Persian legend. Queen Gulnar, she is tired of her beauty. She says, I want a rival. Then her king, King Firoz, brings many beautiful women from across the world. But Gulnar says, no, I am the prettiest. I don't like any one of them. At last, what happens is, her beautiful 2-year-old daughter, like a fairy, snatches away Gulnar's mirror and she says, laughing, here is my rival. Her daughter is a rival. Okay, Indian Weavers, Bangle Sellers. These are other poems: Palanquin Bearers, Coromandel Fishers, The Parda Nashin, To a Buddha Seated on a Lotus, The Bird of a Time. That's there. Okay, I think that's there. Okay. Let's talk about post-independence poetry and fiction. Okay, can you tell me what is the difference between pre-independence poetry and post-independence poetry?
The themes were different now. Earlier, the writers used to be concerned with ideas of mysticism and romanticism, like they were inspired by the romantic writers. And now the ideas were of the Indian psyche, and also the use of free verse was much more frequent now.
Perfect, Prince. Thank you so much. So pre-independence poetry, as Prince said, was more romantic. It was more nationalistic. It was more idealistic. It was based on myths and legends. It was spiritual as well as universal. But post-independence poetry, it's more rooted in the present. It talks about social realism. Okay, it's concrete. It's not very abstract. I'll read you a poem of Nazim Eskil. You will see that how it is there. It's more critical. Okay, it's more relevant to common readers. Okay, tell me which collection of Shiv K. Kumar won Sahitya Academy?
Trap Falls.
Yeah,
from
Trap in the Sky, 1987 Sahitya Academy Award. So Shiv K. Kumar is poet, playwright, novelist, short story writer, born in Lahore, British India, and he is considered one of the academic Indian poets, and he's quite modernist in his writing. And of course, you just remember that he received Sahitya Academy for Trap Falls in the Sky. He has also received Padma Bhushan though. Okay, he mocks Western skepticism in his poetry. He said, and also cerebral sexuality is something which he mocks. And there's a distinct touch of Indian sensibility in his poems. His poems are talk about his experiences of sexuality, desires, broken marriage, as well as life in India. So again, this is post-independence poetry rooted in these things. Okay, he also talks about themes such as superstition, injustice, hypocrisy, poverty, and so on and so forth. Okay, his first collection, always remember the first collection and the one which received some award, because what they do is they ask chronology. They don't ask many textual questions. That's a problem with that exam. Articulate Silences is his first collection. Okay, remember that. And Trap Falls in the Sky won Sahitya Academy. His major poems are Indian Women, Kali, My Correspondent, Pilgrimage, Days in New York, Wool Gathering. The list goes on. I can't read everything. Indian Women talks about how women are so oppressed and things haven't changed much yet at the hand of sun, sex, and poverty. He says this. Okay, Lear to Cordelia. Lear to Cordelia is a famous poem where this King Lear is craving for the love of his daughter, but Cordelia realizes that his desire is futile. Then you have the famous poet. Okay. Who? Now you tell me the name of the poet. Later Day Psalms he has written.
Ezekiel.
The Later Day Psalms received Sahitya Academy. His first collection is Time to Change. They asked this question, I think chronology they asked of his collection. So first collection is Time to Change, and Later Day Psalms is the collection which won Sahitya Academy Award. Okay, now a very prolific writer. He has edited many journals. He has edited the famous journal called Quest. Okay, he belonged to Mumbai's Marathi-speaking Jewish community known as Bene Israel community. Okay, let me. He has written also 3 plays: Nalini, marriage poem, The Sleepwalkers. These are, and he has written a lot of essays also. Ideas and modern poetry, the knowledge of dead secrets, and so on and so forth. Not so important. Night of the Scorpion is his famous poem. Anybody has read it?
Yes, it is about his mother
Yeah.
who gets bitten by a scorpion.
Yeah. And then everybody in the village is trying to, cure her. The father is the rational voice, was trying to cure her. Everybody in the village says, no, she will die. We have to accept our fate. But then at last she's saved. And at the end she says that, oh, thank God, scorpion bit me and not my children. Okay, so basically scorpion is a symbol here of the poison, which is representing darkness and something like that. All these things are there. Then Poet, Lover, Bird Watcher, again, one of his famous poems. Read these poems. Read Night of the Scorpion, read Poet, Lover, Bird Watcher, good poems. Okay, he says, Poet, Lover, and Bird Watcher. These 3, they have to wait. Okay, these 3 have to wait. Poet has to wait for the muse to strike. Okay, lover has to wait for the beloved. Bird watcher has to wait for the bird to come. So patience is required. Okay, so the best poet wait for words. This is the famous line. And then Enterprise is another one of his poems. It's often considered a rewriting of the biblical story of Exodus. And he's talking about journey towards some specific metaphorical goal. Background Casually, again a famous poem which is a sort of his poetic autobiography. So remember, Background Casually is Nissim Esichel's poetic autobiography. It describes his childhood, school days, his stay abroad, how he comes back home, his marriage, how he changes jobs, and whatever goes on in his life. Okay, I have made my commitments now. This is one, to stay where I am, as others choose to give themselves in some remote and backward place. So he chooses to stay in India. Okay, tell me, he wrote response to Naipaul's, India trilogy. Its first book, India, An Area of Darkness. Tell me the title.
Naipaul's India and Mine.
Very good, Ishita. Naipaul's India and Mine. That's a famous one. Remember that. Okay, there's a lot of poems he has written. Uh, he has written The Patriot. I was telling you how they use very, colloquial language. I'll read you a few lines from The Patriot. I'm standing for peace and non-violence. Why world is fighting? He says, why all people of world are not following Mahatma Gandhi? I'm simply not understanding. Ancient Indian wisdom is 100% correct. I should say even 200% correct, but modern generation is neglecting. This is how he writes. Okay. Which poet received Sahitya Academy for relationship?
Jayanta Mahapatra.
In 1981, he was the first Indian English poet to receive Sahitya Academy Award. That is for the relationship. He has also received Padma Shri, by the way. He was a bilingual poet and essayist from Odisha. Okay, and actually he was a professor in physics. He just started writing poetry at the age of 38. Okay, he talks about landscape poetry, means he writes landscape poetry. He talks about the regions like Cuttack, Bhubaneswar, Puri. Dawn at Puri is his famous poem, if you are aware. Okay, he talks about social life of Orissa and these things. He talks about nature a lot. He uses various symbols in his poems. Okay, which is his first collection of poem?
Rain something?
Yeah, A Rain of Rights. A Rain of Rights. It has the poems like Dawn at Puri, Hunger. Hunger is an interesting poem where this man is walking on the beach. I think it's a beach in Puri, and he wants his desire, his physical desire, to be fulfilled, and he's looking for someone. Suddenly, a fisherman comes and says that you take my daughter because we have nothing. You take my daughter so we can eat. So there are various types of hungers, you see. Okay, and relationship has an epigraph which draws from which American poet? This American poet, if I give you a hint, you will know, but I'll nevertheless give you a hint, has written Oh Captain, My Captain, Lilac, Last Doorway Bloomed,
Whitman.
Whitman. So the relationship draws its epigraph from Song of Myself by Whitman. Okay. And Dawn at Puri is again one famous poem which talks about morning scene on the sandy sea beach at Puri. Okay, how crows are cawing endlessly. Okay, and the poet notices a skull on the beach because dead bodies are cremated there, or something like that. Okay, and this site evokes. There are other sites also which evoke the extreme poverty of the people of Orissa. He has written Grandfather. Okay, Grandfather is set against famine of 1866. Okay, which killed 1/3 of Orissa's population. Okay. Dholi is another one of poems. Total solar eclipse, the abandoned British cemetery at Balasore. These are all important poems. Just read few lines from them, if you can. Okay, who has written the poetry collections like The Striders, Hakulali Huvilla Relations?
A.K. Ramanujan.
Yeah, A.K. Ramanujan. Okay, and Striders is most famous, and he has also translated Samskara. Who has written Samskara, the novel?
You are Anant Murthy.
Perfect, Ishita. You are Anant Murthy. Okay, Striders has famous poems like Looking for a Cousin on a Swing, Self-Portrait, A River. These are all famous poems. Okay, and he has written various studies of literature also, like The Interior Landscape, Speaking of Shiva, The Literature of India, Folk Tales from India, Oral Tales from 20 Indian Languages. This has been asked in it once. Okay, Folk Tales from India. He has written that. Remember that. River is his most famous poem. Which river is he talking about?
Ganga.
No. Not Ganga.
M. It's from M.
Oh, it's not.
S.
What? मदुराई में है. कोई मदुराई से है यहाँ? नहीं. Vaigai. He's talking about Vaigai River that flows through the city of Madurai. He says in Madurai, in city of temples and poets, who sang of cities and temples, every summer a river dries to trickle. He talks like that. So he talks about how in summer season the river is dry and so on and so forth. Okay, and how, long straws of women's hair, they clog the water gates. This also he writes in this poem. He has written the famous poem Obituary, remember that? It ironically talks about how his father, who died a trivial death of heart failure at the fruit market, he talks about that. Okay, and that's there. Okay, he has written love poem for wife. How many poems are there?
Two.
No, 3.
3.
Love poem for a wife. 1, 2, 3. Okay, Looking for a Cousin on a Swing is again very famous poem where the poet has a memory of a girl cousin with whom he shared the ride on the swing. And the girl cousin, she has left for the city. Okay, and poet is getting all nostalgic about it. Basically, it's talking about childhood innocence. Okay. Are you aware of any of the essays by A.K. Ramanujan? He's famous for 1 or 2 essays of his.
Is there something called as India?
No, is there an Indian way of thinking? How we think. Everything is context sensitive in Indian way of thinking. And then he has written this very controversial essay, the 300 Ramayanas, 5 examples and 3 thoughts on translations. That's the full title. 300 Ramayanas. It is very controversial. It was included in BA syllabus in University of Delhi, but then the conservationists, they did not like it, so just pulled it down. So it was removed from there. Okay, because what is so controversial about this essay is he's talking about the existence of many versions of the Ramayana and the few versions that even portrayed Ram and Sita as siblings. So that's quite controversial. I'm sure they won't ask questions from that. Okay, P. Lal is one of the poets, not so important, but his famous collection is The Parrot's Death and other poems. Okay, tell me who has written Jejuri. That's a famous poet from Maharashtra. That's his first book in English poems. Come on. Arun Kotlakar. It has 31 poems and he's describing his visit to a religious place called Jejuri in Maharashtra, where the deity is Khanadoba. Khanadoba is incarnation of Shiva. I might be pronouncing it in wrong way. I'm sorry. But yeah. Okay. That's there.
It's Khandova.
Khandoba. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Who has written Rough Passage? R. Parthasarathi. R. Parthasarathi is famous for his poetry collection, Rough Passage. It has 3 parts. Can you tell me the 3 parts?
Exile and Homecoming.
No, 3 are there, no?
I forgot the second one.
Exile means there's a lot of trial and tribulation. So trial, and then you come back home. You're happy. Okay? So these are the 3 parts. This is how you remember. Under Another Sky is his famous poem. They have asked this. So that's there. And So It Eventually Happened. That's another of his poem, which is called Sundari poem. because it's a girl. It's a poem about girl called Sundari. Okay, and so it eventually happened. Okay, this poet everybody knows. Abhi sab chillayenge. An introduction. My grandmother's house. The Sunshine Cat.
Kamala Das.
Kamala Das. Yes. Okay, so there's a lot of romantic subjectivism in Kamala Das's poetry. She talks about feminine sensibility. Okay, and she has a lot of dash elements in her poetry, like Sylvia Plath, like Anne Sexton.
Confessional.
Confessional.
Yes, confessional. Perfect. Just a minute, huh? Someone's calling. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Confessional. And a lot of autobiographical elements as well. Okay. There's just this expression of this contrite self in her poems. Okay. And sometimes she universalizes what is personal. I won't go into details of her poems because I'm sure you must have read her poems. Her famous collection is An Introduction and Other Poems. And she has written other collections like The Descendants, The Old Playhouse and Other Poems, which is her autobiography.
My story.
My story.
My story. Perfect. Okay, she used pen name in Malayalam. What is that pen name?
Madhavi Kutti.
Yes, Madhuri Kutti. She has written a novel. Tell me the name of the novel. Only novel she has written.
Alphabet.
Alphabet of Dash. Full title. Alphabet.
Lust.
Last.
Yeah, of Lust. She has written a famous collection of poems also called Ya Allah. Okay, and you must all have read this poem in your school. I don't know, but I have read. My Mother at 66. That was my introduction to Kamala Das in school. My Mother at 66. It's a 1999 poem. Okay. Then you tell me which which poet received a Sahitya Academy for The Keeper of the Dead. He is one of the poets of the Parsi Quartet.
Keki Daruwala.
Yes, Keki and Daruwala. The Parsi Quartet includes Keki and Daruwala, of course, Adil Jassawala, KD Katrak and Geet Patel. Remember that. Keki and Daruwala, Adil Jassawala, KD Katrak and Geet Patel. Okay, and Keki and Daruwala won Sahitya Academy Award for The Keeper of the Dead. Okay, he blends traditional, contemporary, Indian and global sab kuch in one poetry. Okay, he talks about violence. He talks about natural calamities, flood, drought, famine, outbreak of the epidemic, cholera. Okay, and his first collection, now I tell you only the first collection because that's how you can figure out the chronology most of the times. Apparition in April. That's his first collection. Okay. Okay, there's a poet who has written a collection, A Beginning, which is also his first collection. Not a very popular poet, but you can guess. He has also written autobiographies, My Son's Father, Never at Home.
Tom Moore.
Right. Okay, whose poetry collection Trying to Say Goodbye? Trying to Say Goodbye won Sahitya Academy. One of the person from Parsi Quartet again.
Adil Jassawala.
Yes, Adil Jassawala. Adil Jassawala was trying to say goodbye, but Sahitya Academy's award. No, don't say goodbye. We'll give you Sahitya Academy in 2014. Okay, that's there. Then who has written How Do You Withstand Body? This is a poetry collection. Okay, I'll tell you the name of it. Gunjan said. Gunjan is very intelligent. Gunjan said it. Yes, Geet Patel has written it. His famous poem is On Killing a Tree. On Killing a Tree is about sarcastic poem about man's indiscriminate destruction of trees. Okay. Man is presented as a professional killer who thinks of all possible ways to torture the tree. Tree is an enemy. We have to torture it. That's the poem. That's what the poem says, ironically. Okay. Because tree has committed the crime. Okay. Because for years it has consumed the earth's crust. Okay. Like the thief, it has absorbed the sunlight. Okay. And water. It has grown like a giant. Tree is an enemy. We should cut it. That's what is there. Okay. Who has written the famous poem on the death of a Sunday painter? He is known for his illustrated history of Indian literature in English, though a lot of people study that for competitive exams. A.K. Mehrotra. A.K. Mehrotra. Okay. Tell me, who has written Call Me Ishmael Tonight, a book of ghazals? It's a book of ghazals in English. Yes, Aga Shahid Ali. You know, he gave one term, like Salman Rushdie gave chutneyfication of English. He used that in his
Biryanification.
Biryanification, nahi, Biryanization, something like that. He said biryanize English. Okay, that's same as chutneyfication, basically English, what we call. Okay, his other famous poetry collections are the Half-Inch Himalayas and Walking Through the Yellow Pages. Okay, Call Me Ishmael Tonight. That's from which book? The title is taken from
Moby Dick.
Moby Dick, Herman Melville's Moby Dick. Herman Melville's Moby Dick's first line starts very famous, Call Me Ishmael. Okay, who has written the famous poetry collection House of a Thousand Doors?
Meera.
Not Meera.
Nina Alexander.
Alexander. She has her other famous poetry collection is Raw Silk, Illiterate Heart. Okay, House of Thousand Doors talks about effects of colonization and exploitation. Okay, this you all know, but tell me, who has written this? He is known as a novelist to you, I guess. But you have read his poem in school, I guess, The Frog and the Nightingale.
Vikram.
Vikram Seth, which is his first poetry collection? Mappings. Okay. Now we have finished poetry. Any doubt in poetry? And what would be there? Anything I left out? We will move on. I don't think we have much time, but whatever time we have left, we can go with fiction. There are three great novelists, the trio, the big three. Can you name them?
Mulk Raj Anand, Raja Rao, and R.K. Narayan.
And who is the one to receive Sahitya Academy first? And he's also called first Indian English novelist to receive.
R.K. Narayan.
Okay, what is Mulk Raj Anand is called? Which author of England is he? As
Charles Dickens.
Charles Dickens. He's called India's Charles Dickens. You all know his famous first novel is The Untouchable, which talks about a day in the life of this toilet cleaner boy, a Dalit toilet cleaner boy, Bakha. Okay, and how he has to go through this caste prejudice. Okay, who wrote Introduction to Untouchable?
Foster.
E.M. Forster.
Yes, E.M. Foster. Okay, you can read the summary. I don't have time to tell you the story. His second novel is Coolie. That talks about Munnu, an orphan, a 14-year-old protagonist of Coolie. Okay, he leaves his village to work at railway station and he dies a tragic death. Okay, Two Leaves and a Bud is again famous poem, which is about a Punjabi laborer Gangu in an Assam tea plantation. Two Leaves and a Bud. Okay, The Barbers Trade Union is again a novel, because they ask about lesser known novels and they ask textual details from the famous one. So you make sure that you read the summary of the Untouchable and know the titles of at least these novels, the lesser known novels. Okay, he has written Lalu trilogy. It has 3 novels: The Village, Across the Black Waters, and Sword and the Sickle. Now tell me, in which of these books there's a depiction of war, World War One?
Across the Black River.
Across the Black Waters, not Across the Black River. So there are 3 novels in this trilogy: The Village, Across the Black Waters, and The Sword and the Sickle. It talks about the central character Lalu or Lal Singh from Punjab. Okay, now Mulk Raj Anand, he planned his autobiography, Seven Ages of Man. Seven Ages of Man comes from where?
Shakespeare, As You Like It.
Shakespeare, As You Like It. Okay, so he planned this, but he died before writing all 7. So there are only 4 parts which are completed: Seven Summers, Morning Faces, Confessions of a Lover, and The Bubble. Okay, Seven Summers, Morning Faces, Confessions of a Lover, and The Bubble. Are you aware which one of it won Sahitya Academy?
Morning Faces.
Yeah, Morning Faces. Okay, tell me, R.K. Narayan's famous trilogy, everybody knows.
Swami and Friends. The Bachelor of Arts. The Teacher.
English teacher. Swami and Friends, I'm sure you're well aware of. It's set in the fictional town of Malgudi. Okay, where these are adventures of Swami and his friends. You can watch a series which is available on Prime Video. Bachelor of Arts, it's based on his college days. It's a very Brahminical story, according to me, because a man wants to marry some girl, mother denies ki you can't marry that guy. He goes on to become sannyasi. He comes back and he agrees that, okay, mother, I'll marry whomever you want me to marry. Such a simple Brahminical story. That's like there. The English teacher, I'm sure most of you would be familiar with this novel. There's a protagonist, Krishnan. The Guide. Who is the protagonist in Guide? Very famous. It's a movie also.
Raju.
Raju, Railway Raju. Okay. Then he has written Man Eater of Malgudi, which has the protagonist Vasu. Vasu is a taxidermist. Taxidermist means he poaches animals and sells the skin. Okay. And Vasu is the famous one. The Talkative Man. The Dark Room. Now, it is the only novel of R.K. Narayan which has a female protagonist. That's the female name of that female protagonist is Savitri. Okay. Waiting for Mahatma. They asked a question for this time. I think match mein kuch to pucha tha unhone. Waiting for Mahatma. That's his only political novel. Okay. Where there's a love story of Sri Ram, a patriotic young boy, and a patriotic young girl, Bharati. Sri Ram and Bharati. Okay, you tell me which is Raja Rao's first novel. I'm sure most of you would be familiar with that. Are? Kantapura. Yes. It talks about Achakka. It's told by a grandmother called Achakka to a group of female listeners. Okay, and it's a political novel, and Gandhi also appears in this novel. So that's there. It's told in what is that called? Sthal Purana, or legendary history style. Okay, it follows the oral tradition of that. So these are minor details you should know, because they ask the question, who was the goddess depicted in Kantapura? That's Kenchamma. Okay. The Serpent and the Rope is again one of his famous novels, which talks about Ramaswamy and his French lover, Madeline. Cat and Shakespeare, again very interesting novel. It's subtitled A Tale of Modern India. Okay, you can read about it. Comrade Kirillov is one of his famous novels. The novel is influenced by which novel of Dostoevsky, the Russian novelist Fyodor Dostoevsky?
Which novel?
Which novel of Dostoevsky? Comrade Kirillov of Raja Rao.
Okay.
It is by the Possessed by Fyodor Dostoevsky. You might be known. He's known for Crime and Punishment. That's his famous. I think Dostoevsky. They asked this time the first line from his novel, which was that novel Underground Notes. Right? I'm a sick man. I'm a tired man. They asked the first line. They asked one from. Anna Karenina also by Leo Tolstoy. Okay, we will begin where we left off. We have to do fiction. So we will deal with post-independence fiction. I think we already dealt with R.K. Narayan and Mulk Rajanand. Okay, we have to start with Raja Rao. Now, of course, you know that he is one of the three greatest Indian English novelists, other two being R.K. Narayan and Mulk Rajanand. And he was born in Mysore. And if we talk about his education, so it was a blend of Indian and European influences. Okay, he was also a philosopher. His philosophy is deeply rooted in Hinduism. That is reflected in his novels. So if you talk about his first novel, which is his first novel?
Kantapura.
Kantapura, 1938. That's Raja Rao's first novel. It is narrated in a way like Sthal Purana is narrated. Okay, and you can say if Kantapura is Raja Rao's Ramayana, then Serpent and the Rope, which is next book, is his Mahabharata. Okay, so now, as I told you, it follows this oral tradition of Indian Sthal Purana, or Sthal Purana basically means what? Legendary history. Okay, so it is told by this grandmother named Achakka, okay, to a group of female listeners whom she addresses as sisters. Okay, and there's also the presence of Gandhiji in this novel. So they can ask you that in which of the following novels there's Gandhiji as a character. So there's Waiting for Mahatma by R.K. Narayan. This one is there, Kantapura, and there are a few others, right? And it's situated in a village which is sort of a microcosm of traditional Indian society. Again, you see caste hierarchy that is deeply entrenched, right? And there are Brahmins, Sudras, Paryas. They all live separately. So you see that in the narrative, okay? And then the next novel is Serpent and the Rope. A lot of you might be familiar with this novel. The Serpent and the Rope, the title itself means illusion and reality. It is a sort of a semi-autobiographical account of this marriage between two intellectuals rather. Ramaswamy is the protagonist, okay, and Madeline. Madeline is a French teacher of history who is 5 years senior to him. Okay, but their marriage is destroyed by certain philosophical and cultural discords. Okay, so if you see Gandhism in Kantapura, you see Vedanta philosophy being propounded in Serpent and the Rope. Another famous novel which I want to talk about is The Cat and the Shakespeare. It is subtitled A Tale of Modern India. Now, the title is very interesting. Does anybody know the significance of the title? Like why it's called Cat and the Shakespeare? Nobody? I'll tell. Okay, so the narrator basically in this novel is Rama Krishna Pai, a clerk who lives away from his wife, and he has an affair, extramarital affair, with the school mistress Shanta. So this is the plot which revolves around it. When we talk about the title, so it revolves around this Marjara Kishore Nyaya. Marjara Kishore Nyaya. There are two kinds. Okay, one is Markata Kishora Nyaya and one is Marjara Kishore Nyaya. So Marjara refers to cat here. So like kitten, how cat holds the kitten in her mouth, right? So like a kitten is protected by its mother. Similarly, the Lord protects us. Okay, we should. Whereas the Markata Kishore Nyaya talks about how monkey has to cling to its mother, right? Lord is indifferent. So this novel propounds Marjara Kishore Nyaya, that we have to have trust in God that Lord will protect us. Okay, so like that analogy. And Shakespeare, because there's this Shakespeare's ambience that is created in the novel. Okay, that penetrates in the novel through this shopkeeper, Govindan Nair. Okay, he owns a ration shop and he propounds the philosophies of Shakespeare. So this is how the title is important. Another important novel of Raja Rao is Comrade Kirillov. Okay, can you tell me which novel of Dostoevsky, Fyodor Dostoevsky, influenced this novel? The famous Russian novelist Dostoevsky.
The Possessed.
Yeah. So this is there, and the protagonist is Comrade Kirillov. Okay, his real name is Padmanabhan Iyer, though. His other novels are Chessmaker and His Moves, not so important. Next author is Bhabani Bhattacharya. He is an Indian writer of Bengali origin. Okay, and he was strongly again influenced by Rabindranath Tagore and Mahatma Gandhi. There's a lot of social realism in his work, so we see a lot of social realism penetrating into these narratives. Okay, can you tell me the famous book by Bhabani Bhattacharya, if anybody knows? It's
So many
1940.
hungers.
Yeah, so many.
Yes.
So it's set against the background of the independence movement as well as the Bengal famine of the early 1940s. Okay, and these so many hungers are seen through the protagonist, Kajoli. Kajoli is the destitute village girl. His another famous novel is He Who Rides a Tiger, where you have this poor blacksmith Carlo. He's jailed for stealing a bunch of bananas and vows revenge on society. Similarly, Victor Hugo, La Miserable, his book, where this guy, I forget the name of the protagonist, he is also jailed for stealing a piece of bread, and what tortures they had to go through just because they're stealing food to satisfy their hunger or their relatives' hunger. So this is really heart-wrenching. Then you have G.V. Desani. G.V. Desani has written, he's famous for one book all about H. Hatter. This book is surprisingly not talked about now, but when it was published, it was very famous. All about H. Hatter, here Hindustan Wala Hatter. The protagonist is Hindustan Wala. Okay, and this is the only novel by G.V. Desani, all about H. Hatter. Even Rushdie and everybody was quite influenced by him. Then you have Nayantara Sehgal. Okay, she is primarily an Indian journalist, novelist born in Allahabad. Her uncle was Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, her cousin Indira Gandhi, and so on and so forth. Can you tell me which book she wrote, which won Sahitya Academy in 1986?
Rich Like Us.
Yeah, Rich Like Us. Perfect. Okay, so that's there. Her first novel is Mistaken Identity. Okay, it talks about the strange journey from home to North India after long months of travel up abroad. There's this guy called Bhushan Singh who is traveling. So this is the story. Not so much nothing of much importance here, because they don't ask usually textual questions from these kinds of works. Rich Like Us is again historical and political novel. It is set in New Delhi during the chaotic time between 1932 and mid 1970s. Okay, and it deals with two upper class female protagonists. There's Rose and Sonali. Okay, Rose and Sonali, and how their lives are intertwined in this political upheaval and the social reorganization of society. So that's there. And Rose is a British immigrant, okay, and she is a wife of a powerful native businessman, Ram, okay, and Sonali Ware is a highly educated civil servant. Okay, can someone tell me what Chaman Nehar is famous for? He has written 4 novels, which are named something. Gandhi Portrait. Gandhi Portrait.
Azadi.
Yeah, Azadi he is famous for. Azadi is the first novel in Gandhi Portrait. So Azadi came in 1975. It tells the story of the family of Lal Kanshi Ram of Silakot. Okay, so basically, there's some cabinet mission plan which was announced on June 3, 1947. Novel starts there, and it goes on to Mahatma Gandhi's assassination on January 30, 1948. So that's the story of Azadi. The other three novels in this quadrant are The Crown and the Lion Cloth, The Salt of Life, The Triumph of the Tricolor. You can guess from the title of Salt of Life that it talks about Dandi March. Okay, the famous salt satyagraha of 1930. And The Crown and Lion Cloth talks about Jallianwala Bagh massacre, and The Triumph of Tricolor is about Quit India movement. Okay, which novel of Ruth Prabha Jhabwala won Booker?
Heat and
In-
dust.
Yeah, Heat and Dust. Now it's been, yeah, Heat and Dust. Adila and Arjun said it. Okay. There's an unnamed woman who travels to India to find out more about her step grandmother Olivia. Okay, so this is the story, and it uses the technique of flashback. So that readers can also experience the story not from this narrator's perspective only, but also from the Olivia's point of view. Okay, so you can say that women's inferiority is explored because Olivia eventually becomes pregnant with Nawab's baby, and she, out of fear, decides to abort the child, and this causes a lot of scandal in India at that time, especially in the town which she is living, Satipur. And then she goes on to reside in an unnamed town which is called Town X in the book for remaining years. And novel ends with the narrator, the present day narrator, also getting pregnant, and she also decides to spend her years in Town X just as Olivia did. Okay, now there's one famous novelist you might be familiar with, Shashi Deshpande. Can you tell me a first work?
Dark Holes No Terror.
Dark Holes No Terror. Who's the protagonist in Dark Holes No Terror?
Saru.
Sarita. Sarita is a successful lady doctor. It talks about issues like marital rape. Which novel of Shashi Deshpande won Sahitya Academy?
Long Silence.
Yeah, that Long Silence. Who is the protagonist in Long Silence?
Long silence.
Yeah, that Long Silence.
Jaya.
Jaya. Okay, Jaya again, female torment, female anguish is quite explored in her novels. Her novels deal with middle class women mostly. Another of her famous novels, Small Remedies, which is a biography within a biography. Okay, so there's a protagonist, Madhu Saptarishi. She is an urban, middle-aged, educated woman, and she is commissioned by a publisher to write a biography on a famous classical singer, Savitri Bai Indorkar. Okay, she is a doyen of Gwalior Gharana. Okay, so this is what there. The Binding Women, the Binding Mind is another of her famous novels. Again, a women-centered story. Urmila is an educated middle-class wife, and she's grieving over the death of a one-year-old daughter, Anu. And in this grief, she also becomes sensitive to the suffering of other people around her. Okay, so there are stories of different women told here. Of course, there's Urmila, then you have Shakuntala, then you have Urmila's mother-in-law, Meera. They're all victims to certain kind of atrocities, be it marital rape or gang rape. So that's there. That's explored. Which is the first novel of Anita Desai? Very famous.
Cry the Peacock.
Yeah, Cry the Peacock. Cry the Peacock, who is the protagonist?
Maya.
Maya. Okay, Maya. Anita Desai portrays the mental turmoil of that character. She is a young and sensitive woman. She is haunted by a childhood prophecy of a fatal disaster. Okay, and then when she's married, she's unable to have meaningful relationship with her husband as well as her other family members. Her husband's name is Gautam. Okay, she's attached to her father and she tries to seek her father figure in her husband. So that is very complicated, and Gautam is too rigid. Okay, he ignores her. Finally, in a fit of madness, as you might be aware, she pushes Gotham over the parapet and he falls down to death. And then maybe she kills herself, maybe she does not kill herself. The ending is quite ambiguous. Her first novel is The Cry of the Peacock, which came in 1963. Can you tell me which of her works, one Sahitya Academy?
In custody
Fire
or
on the
fasting?
Mountain.
Yeah, Fire on the Mountain. In Custody was shortlisted for Booker. In Custody, Fasting, Feasting, and One More.
In custody, fast and feasting, and fire on the mountain. These three, I guess. For
Fire
Booker.
on the Mountain.
No,
First,
clear light of the day.
yeah, Clear Light of the Day. Fire on the Mountain won Sahitya Academy. It was not shortlisted, I guess. Okay, Fire on the Mountain, again, it's not a very complicated plot. It's story of two elderly women, Nanda Kaul and Ela Das, and a young girl, Raka. Okay, so it talks about that. Then you have Clear Light of the Day, then you have In Custody. There are a lot of stories, you can go into that. I have read one of her novels, that is Fasting, Feasting, which talks about this, how Uma and Arun's life is juxtaposed, the daughter and the son. Arun is sent away abroad, Uma is made to stay at home, she's married, then her husband is not good to her, she's brought back and she has to take care of household. So again, one has to fast, the daughters have to fast and sons have to feast, and they are both caught in this, patriarchal expectations of society. Village by the Sea is again one of her famous novels. Okay, what has Arun Joshi written? They do not ask textual questions from Arun Joshi.
The Strange Case of Billy
The
Biswas.
Foreigner.
Yeah, The Strange Case of Billy Biswas.
The Foreigner.
Last Labyrinth.
Yeah, The Last Labyrinth, which won Sahitya Academy Award in
The
1982.
Foreigner.
Yeah, The Foreigner. The first novel of Arun Joshi is The Foreigner. And one of the novels which I have read is City and the River. It's very allegorical. It's a political allegory. So Arun Joshi talks about these themes, and of course, existential dilemmas is one of the major themes in his novels. So that's there. There are a few more writers. I think in whose novel there's this protagonist, Agastya Sen. They asked this question in it. Agastya Sen. Upamanyu Chatterjee's novel English August. Its subtitle is An Indian Story. Remember that. The protagonist is Agastya Sen. Okay. He's known to his friends as English August. Okay. His friends call him English August. Okay. Upamanyu Chatterjee's another novel is The Last Burden, not so famous. So that's there. Then you have Vikram Seth. Can you tell me his first novel, which is written in verse?
The Golden Gate.
The Golden Gate. Which novel of Nabokov has been also written in verse? Nabokov, author of Lolita. Pale Fire. Pale Fire. They asked this question. It has 999 lines. Okay, remember that. Okay, so Golden Gate is Vikram Seth's first novel, which is written in verse form, and it talks about lives of young professionals in San Francisco. It's completely set in San Francisco. Then his another novel is An Equal Music. Again, it is set in London. It's not set in India. His novel, which is set in India, is A Suitable Boy, which deals with Mehra, Rupa Mehra, and she trying to find a suitable boy for her daughter, Lata, who falls in love with Kabir, but he is Muslim, so they can't marry, and eventually she has to marry Harish. So that's a story. It's a tomb of a book. And if you get a chance, you can listen to BBC adaptation, not the BBC adaptation, the series, but BBC adaptation, the radio play. It's amazing. It's amazing. It will surely catch your attention. Okay, he has written poetry collections, which you've already talked about, Mappings and Humble Administrator's Garden, and All You Who Sleep Tonight, right? Then, Geeta Mehta, again, a famous novelist. Geeta Mehta, if you know, is the daughter of this Oriya politician, Biju Patnaik. And her first novel is Raj. Okay, it's about Maharajas and the early phase of India's independence struggle. What Geeta Mehta is known for is a River Sutra. Okay, it deals with the stories of six pilgrims. They are making their way to the banks of India's holy river, Narmada. So Narmada is depicted in this. So remember that. And even her River Sutra is compared to Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales. Okay, so there are 6 tales in this novel. And she has written other collection of essays, Karma Kola and Glimpses of Modern India. That's famous. Karma Kola is famous. Okay, it's a satire on hippies' pilgrimage to the mystic East in the 1960s. Okay, now tell me, what do you know about Shashi Tharoor? Except that he has very good vocabulary. I want his vocabulary.
Politician.
Politician. Because last time they asked the chronology, and there was Great Indian Novel. Remember, Great Indian Novel was his first novel, 1989. Okay, 1989 it came. It is based on Mahabharata, modern day retelling of Mahabharata. Very interesting novel. The novel which I have read is it's a non-fiction, Why I Am a Hindu. Interesting work. And the Great Indian Novel has 18 books. Remember that, 18 books. Okay. His other novels are, or rather, non-fiction work is India from Midnight to the Millennium, Pax Indica, Bookless in Baghdad, and Paradoxical Prime Minister, which came in recently. Okay, can anybody?
Era of Darkness.
Yeah, An Era of Darkness. I forgot that. Thank you for saying that. An Era of Darkness is again a very famous book which talks about how British India Britishers wreak havoc on India and took away everything. Then we have Tarun Tejpal. Tarun Tejpal is famous for his novel, The Alchemy of Desire. Okay, and he's more famous for a publishing company he started. What is the name of that publishing company which published one of the Booker Prize winning novels of India?
Arundhati Roy's novel.
Yeah, Arundhati Roy's novel, God of Small. They asked this question in Net 1, that which publishing house published God of Small Things? It's Tarun Tejpal's Indian Ink. Okay, remember that, Indian Ink. Then you have Rohinton Mistry. We also study him in Canadian literature though, but because he is a diaspora, so we include him here. He has written novels like Such a Long Journey, Family Matters, and the novel which you know, which you might be aware with, is A Fine Balance, right? It is set during the emergency. The famous characters are Ishwar and Om Prakash, Deena Dalal, and Manik Kola. These are major characters. And again, one of the other famous collection of short stories is Tales from Firoz Shah Bagh. Okay, how many stories are there in Tales from Firoz Shah Bagh?
11.
Right. And one of the most famous story out of these is Swimming Lessons. Swimming Lessons is the most famous one. So if you get the time, you can read it. Okay. Such a Long Journey, I'll tell you the main characters. Gustad Noble is the main character, and his wife Dilnawaz. Okay. Then Family Matters, it revolves around this guy called Nariman Wakil. He is an old Parsi widower, and he is a patriarch of a small discordant family. Okay. And he is beset by Parkinson's disease. So he's trying to grapple with that disease and, grapple with the life around him. So that's there. Okay, Amitav Ghosh, tell me something about Amitav Ghosh. Which is his first?
Only writer to win Jnanpith in English.
Yeah. His first novel is The Circle of Reason, 1986. So they may ask the chronology because they love chronology questions. So they will put in these modern writers and tell you Because last time I remember there was God of Small Things, there was Great Indian Novel, others I've forgotten, the options I've forgotten, but these two were there. So remember that. Okay, The Circle of Reason is his first novel, 1986. Shadowlines, you might be aware with, very famous novel, narrated by an unnamed narrator, talks about unnamed narrator's uncle, Tridib, right? And it's divided into two parts. What are the name of the two parts? Shadowlines. It talks about the violence in Bengal and East Pakistan, now Bangladesh.
Going away and coming home.
Yeah, going away and coming home. Perfect. And then you have his Ibis trilogy. Can you name the three novels?
Sea of Poppies, Fire of Smoke. River of Smoke, Flood of Fire.
Flood of Fire. Perfect. Hungry Tide, if you've read, I have read two novels, Shadowlines and Hungry Tide. Hungry Tide is based on this cetologist Piali Roy, who comes to Sundarbans in search of this rare species called Irrawaddy dolphins, and how she meets this local fisherman Fakir. They don't even speak each other's language, but they still are able to communicate so much. It's really beautiful, beautiful work. If you get the time to read it, you can read it. Can you tell me his non-fiction works? In an Antique Land. In an Antique Land is a famous non-fiction work on ethnography. He goes to Egypt, right? So it's based on his life as well. Then you have Chitra Banerjee Divakuruni, what she is famous for. You must have read one or two novels.
The Palace of
The
Illusion.
Palace of Illusions.
Yeah, Forest of Enchantments. Her first novel was The Mistress of Spices, where the titular mistress of spices, Tilo. She's living in America and she makes spices. Okay, because for all the Indians who are living there, so that, you know, they're missing their home and they need this taste of India, sort of. And her life changes when she falls in love with an American man. I think similar stories is written by Brick Lane, Monica Ali's Brick Lane, where she goes to London. She's married in London and she falls in love with a guy there. So that's there. Monica Ali is Bangladeshi writer. Sister of My Heart talks about two sisters, rather cousins, Anju and Sudha. It's a very long-winding novel. And Sister of My Heart has a sequel, The Wine of Desire. Okay, and her debut collection of short stories is Arranged Marriage. Okay, Arranged Marriage. Remember that, Arranged Marriage. Then you have this writer who has written Sacred Games. Everybody knows this writer. Who has written Sacred Games? Come on. Nobody got the series? Vikram Chandra, famous for Sacred Games. Okay, it features Sarjit Singh, the policeman, and Vikram Chandra's first novel is Red Earth and Pouring Rain. Okay, then you have Arundhati Roy. Arundhati Roy's first novel is very famous Booker Prize winning novel, 1997.
The God of Small Things.
It deals with twins, rather, Rahel and Esther. Who is the Paravan in God of Small Things? Who gets beaten to death in the police station? Very brutally, very sad novel.
Velutha.
Belutha, correct. Okay, and it is set in which fictional place? What is the name of that fictional place? Imenim. And her other works are The Ministry of Utmost Happiness, And her famous essay is The Algebra of Infinite Justice. Remember that. Then you have Meena Alexander. We read her as a poet. We talked about her as a poet. She has written famous poetry collection House of a Thousand Doors. Her famous novels are Nampally Road and Manhattan Music. Nampally Road and Manhattan Music. Then you have Amit Chaudhary. Amit Chaudhary is known for his work A Strange and Sublime Address. This won Commonwealth Prize. Okay, Commonwealth Prize for novel, which has stopped now. They don't give it now. I think till 2012 they were giving it. Now they've stopped. Now it's just Commonwealth Short Story Prizes there. A Strange and Sublime Address is his famous book. Okay, and he also won Sahitya Academy for A New World. A New World. Taslima Nasreen. Anybody is aware what she has written? She is famous for one work. It's in Bengali. Lajja. Lajja, very famous novel. Okay, Jhumpa Lahiri. Jhumpa Lahiri's first collection of short stories is which won Pulitzer in 2000?
Namesake.
No, not Namesake. It's a collection.
Interpreter of Maladies.
Yeah, The Interpreter of
Maladies.
Yes, that one, Pulitzer. And then you have The Namesake, which talks about the central character Gogol. Amazing writing. Then Unaccustomed Earth. Then I think Lowland. Then she has published Whereabouts, and now she has published Roman Stories. That's a sequence of her works. Okay. Even Namesake has been adopted into a beautiful movie by Oscar-winning director Meera Nair. Amazing movie. Must watch. Okay, then you have Kiran Desai. Only novel Kiran Desai has written is... No. She has written 2 novels. Which is the first novel?
Hullabaloo in the Guava Orchard.
Hullabaloo in the Guava Orchard, which is set in Shahkot, which is sort of a microcosm of India, right? Sampath is the protagonist. And which of a book won Booker?
Inheritance of Loss.
2006.
Inheritance of Loss.
Yeah. Inheritance of Loss won Booker in 2006. And there are 2 main characters, Biju and Sai. Okay, Biju lives an illegal immigrant in US, and Sai lives with her grandfather in the mountainous region of Kalimpong. Then you have Manju Kapoor. What is Manju Kapoor famous for? In 1999, this work won Commonwealth Short Story Prize.
Difficult Daughters.
Difficult Daughters. That's what she is famous for. And then you have Arvind Adiga, the man who wrote Dash. His debut novel.
The White Tiger.
White Tiger, which won Booker in 2008. Okay, who is the lead character? Who is the lead character? Balram Halwai.
Balram.
Yeah. Okay, he's addressing the letter to Chinese Prime Minister Wen Jiabo. This is how the novel starts. His second book is Between the Assassinations, and his famous book, which came in 2011, is Last Man in Tower. Okay, then you have Anita Nair, is famous detective short story writer and novelist, of course. Do you know any of her novels? I have one in my shelf in the custody. Her famous novel is Ladies Coupe. Ladies Coupe. Okay, Amish Tripathi, the famous author of Dash trilogy. You tell me. His first trilogy. Shiva trilogy.
Shiva trilogy.
Yeah, Immortals of Meluha, Secret of Nagas, Oath of Ayaputras. They can ask this. Now, though, he has brought a lot of trilogies. Jeet Thaili is known as poet who won Sahitya Academy for his poetry collection. These errors are correct, but he has written a novel which was shortlisted for Booker, his first novel. It talks about the narrator who arrives in Bombay and is sucked into the opium underground. Necropolis. Necropolis is the name of that novel. Okay, and then you have Jerry Pinto, amazing writer. I've met this author once. I attended his writing workshop. Amazing writer and very humble person. He won Hindu Literary Prize for his very famous novel M and the Big Whom, which talks about mental health in a very, very intricate manner. And Jerry Pinto is famous translator for a lot of Dalit autobiographies and novels. Check that out. Check what Jerry Pinto has translated, which of the Dalit autobiographies and biographies and novels, of course. Okay, so with that, I think we come to an end with the fiction part. Okay, do you want me to do drama? It's a small section. Should we proceed with drama?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's talk about post-independence drama because there's not much pre-independence drama as such. Okay, so if we talk about certain theatrical movements, so there was this indoor theater called proscenium theater. It was a Parsi theater. Okay, it focused on entertainment. There was a mix of music, spectacle, melodrama, humor, romance, social criticism, and so on and so forth. And this proscenium theater influenced Indian cinema a lot. Okay, it was influenced by modern European playwrights like G.B. Shaw, Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, Bertolt Brecht. Okay, and it is also associated with IPTA. What is IPTA? Indian Political Theatre Association. Okay, so when we talk about pre-independence writers, they mainly wrote in their mother tongue, like Rabindranath Tagore wrote in Bengali. You have Subramanya Bhartiyar in Tamil, Shrikant Nair in Malayalam, right? Bharatendu Harishchandra and Jai Shankar Prasad in Hindi, if you know that. There was this, again, famous drama and art school established, Sangeet Natak Academy. And there was NSD. You might be aware with NSD. What is NSD? What is NSD?
National School of Drama.
National School of Drama.
It was established under the directorship of Ibrahim Al-Qazi and B.B. Karnath. Remember that. Okay, there were more drama schools. There was Rag Mandala in Bhopal, Kalakshetra in Chennai, Chorus Theatre in Imphal. Okay, and the modernist playwrights are Vijay Tendulkar, Badal Sarkar, Mohan Rakesh, Girish Karnad, Chandrasekhar Kamra, P. Lankesh, Indira Parthasarthi. So let's talk about the pioneer of People's Theatre. Who is that? Who is pioneer of People's Theatre? Very famous.
Badal Sarkar.
Badal Sarkar. This famous, most famous play.
Evam Indrajit.
Evam Indrajit. Evam Indrajit came in 1962. In English, it means and Indrajit. Okay, so there are 4 characters in there: Vimal, Amal, Kamal, and Nirmal. Yeah, I always get confused. Amal, Vimal, Kamal, and Nirmal. Okay, who is the Indrajit among them? Who admits rather?
Vimal.
Nirmal is the Indrajit. So basically, Indrajit is every man. Okay, every man. So in this world of materiality, we are all becoming same. So nothing is unique about it. But Nirmal, out of these 4 people, Nirmal comes out and tells, yeah, I am Indrajit. And there's a girl, he falls in love with Mansi, who is again an every woman. Okay, so this is how it's very modernist play in the sense, or rather postmodernist, you can say, because the writer is writing on the stage. Okay, and he is very confused about such characters, what characters are there should be in the play. Okay, so you can read this story if you want. Then you have Mahashweta Devi, again, very famous. She wrote in Bengali and her works are translated by whom? Two people are famous for translating Mahashweta Devi's works. One is
Gayatri Spivak.
Gayatri Chakrabarti Spivak. Another is Samik Bandyopadhyay. He translated Bayan. It was published in the collection Five Plays, which was translated by Samik Bandyopadhyay in 1997. What has Gayatri Chakrabarti Spivak translated? Very famous. It was a designated topic.
Breast story.
Stories. Okay, Bayan talks about this protagonist Chandi Dasi. She's separated from her husband and son because she's accused of being a Bayan. Bayan means a witch. Okay, so that's there. Mother of 1084, again, very famous novel, Hajar Chaurashir Ma. Okay, and it is the story of a mother who is reliving her death of a son in the political upheaval. Okay, and the name of the mother is Sujata and her son is Brati. Brati's corpse number is 1084. So mother of 1084. So how in war, we are just numbered. We are no more human beings. Like in COVID, the people who died, they were just numbers. Like 500 people died. Their human identity. That reminds me of W.H. Auden's famous poem, The Unknown Citizen. Again, very poignant thing. Draupadi is one of her famous short stories, not a play. Then you have Vijay Tendulkar, which is his first play, first major play. Gruhastha, household. Yeah, Gruhastha. Then he wrote The Vultures. Any play you have read of Vijay Tendulkar, any play you know, any name you know?
Silence, the court is in session. Shantata court chalu hai.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful play. Even I think Hotstar pe it's available, the adaptation of this. Amazing adaptation. Sakharam Binder, Kanyadan, again. So, Silence the Court is in session talks about the central character Leela Banare. Leela Banare is accused of
That she's pregnant and she's aborting her child.
infanticide or feticide. And she has an affair with Professor Damle, the character who never appears in the play, incidentally. Yeah, that's there. Then you have, it talks about this uncompromising realism. We read this in our media course. And how it talks about individual and group psychology, and it's very experimental. Okay, Asif Karim Boy, he's famous for Refugee. Goa. His first play is The Tourist Mecca. The Tourist Mecca. Okay. Inqilab is again one of his famous plays. Okay. And of course, Goa is there, where you have Rose. We read this play recently and I forgot the characters. Then you have Girish Karnad. Girish Karnad puts in a lot of folkloric elements into his plays, right? Indian history and everything. There are a lot of conflicting ideologies. He also talks about political freedom of India. His plays, a lot of plays are based on myth, which is his first play.
Yayati.
Yayati. It is taken from the first chapter of which epic?
Mahabharat.
Mahabharat's Adi Parva narrative is it's taken from, and it is written in the style of Yakshagana, and it opens with Sutradhar's speech. Okay, Yayati is represented as very self-indulgent, very sensual modern man. Okay, he also stands for the quest for meaning, value, freedom, truth. Okay. He has relationships with his wife Devyani, who is the daughter of Sage Shukracharya. Okay, and he has also relationship with Sharmishtha and Asura girl, right? So this is what happens. Tughlaq is the famous play. He did what? Which wreaked havoc in people's life in his kingdom. What did Tughlaq do? Which decision did he take?
He thought of changing the capital
From Delhi to Daulatabad.
from Daulatabad.
Yeah. Hayavadana, very famous play, and it was published in the collection called three plays: Nagamandala, Hayavadana, and Tughlaq. Okay, and Tughlaq is famously translated by Vijay Tendulkar into Marathi. Remember that. Hayavadana is a story of two characters, Devadatta and Kapila. It is taken from Vetal Panchavishmati Katha. I can't comprehend the name, it's very big. And it's taken, the story also draws heavily from which of the famous short stories of the German writer Thomas Mann?
Transposing head, something like that is the name.
Transposed head.
The transposed heads, yeah. Both of you are correct.
Transposed heads.
Yeah, the transposed heads. Okay, Thomas Mann is famous for his novel Death in Venice. Very strange writer. Okay, and it's also, this tale is also found in Somdeva's Katha Sarita Sagara. Katha Sarita Sagara. It's an ancient collection.
Katha Sarit Sagar.
Yeah, Katha Sar. Thank you for correcting me. My pronunciations are very bad. So that's there. And the opening of this play is very metafictional. Okay, it in part one there's an introduction. A mask of Ganesh is brought on the stage. Puja is done by the Bhagavad. He sings in the praise of Ganesh. So they're telling you that yes, we are telling the story. So that's how it's metafictional opening. So yeah. Nagamandala is again one of the famous plays, and it is one. It was based on the oral tale which Girish Karnad heard from his friend A.K. Ramanujan, and he wrote this in Kannada during his stay at University of Chicago, and I think that's it about Girish Karnad. Then you have one of the famous playwrights from Jabalpur. She was the founder of Performing Arts and Literature of India, PALI, what you call PALI, Performing Arts and Literature of India. Okay, and she has written plays like Sons Must Die, Meera, Sita's Promise, Uma Parmeshwaram is the playwright. Okay, not so famous. You can skip it. Then Manjula Padmanabhan. Oh, wow, Shalini, you're from Jabalpur. So, have you read Uma Parmeshwaram, Shalini? We have not. No? Okay.
No.
Okay. We will read then Uma Parmeshwaram. Manjula Padmanabhan is known for two plays, Lights Out and Harvest. Lights Out talks about marital rape, and Harvest talks about, what does it talk about? Body parts being sold. What is it?
Organ transplant.
Yeah. Transplanting body parts being harvested out. Yeah. Lights Out talks about marital rape and how this girl is raped and society is not able to accept it. When does society do that? Like Pecola of Bluest Eye. That's there. Then you have the most famous playwright who has written story of two twins. Twins are two only. Twins.
Mahesh Datnani, Tara.
Tara. Okay. And he was the first English playwright to be awarded Sahitya Academy Award. For which play?
Last solution, final solution.
Final Solutions. Final Solutions is on communal violence, right? So his first play is Where There's a Will. It talks about this rich businessman. Actually, he's dead, Hasmukh Mehta. Okay? And he is roaming around as a ghost. Okay? It has a Gujarati setting, of course. Dance Like a Man. Dance Like a Man. Who are the protagonists in Dance Like a Man?
Jairaj Ratna.
Jairaj and Ratna. Jairaj wants to dance, but his father, Amrit Lal Parekh, won't let him, right? Tara is very famous. And if you talk about stage setting of Mahesh Dattani, that's also very famous. Final Solutions is again on communal violence, where, this Hindu family is hiding two Muslims. Bobby is one of the name is Bobby. Another name I forgot. Another
Javed. Javed.
Javed.
Javed.
Thank you, Priyanshi. Javed. Javed and Bobby. On a muggy night in Mumbai, it's also a famous movie with another name. On a muggy night in Mumbai talks about homosexuality very famously. So that's there. 30 Days in September talks about child sexual abuse. So he and his one of his plays was a radio play for BBC, Seven Circles Round the Fire. So he writes about these social issues, weaving them in the intricacies of family life in India, and producing it very brilliantly. So that's it. These are the playwrights.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Department of English Literature, IEHE, and all the students preparing for NET JRF, I would like to extend our sincerest gratitude to Ms. Hardika Lalwani for enlightening us with the concepts of fiction and drama of Indian literature. Your insights have provided us with a profound understanding of the subject, which will undoubtedly aid us in our preparation. Your willingness to share your valuable time and knowledge with us is truly commendable. We are particularly grateful for the depth and clarity with which you discussed key themes and authors in Indian literature. The discussion of the patterns and types of questions asked from each topic further clarified our understanding. Moreover, we are immensely obliged to HOD Sir, Dr. Ashok Kumar Chaturvedi, and the organizing committee who are conducting this valuable series for us. Your efforts play a key role in shaping our future. I would like to end on the note that we are extremely thankful for your exceptional contribution, and we look forward to applying the knowledge we have gained from this lecture.
Okay, thank you.